Hello and a warm welcome to the second video on the really important subject of timing. Now, if you haven't watched the first video, I advise that you go back and have a look at there, because there are a few things that I'm going to refer to in this video which we talked about in the first video. So if you haven't watched the basic timing video, go and do that first. So what are we going to talk about here? Well, one of the main things I want to talk about is actually when we look at a time signature, and in the first video we looked at a 4/4 time signature. Maybe Paul can put one up just to remind us. You'll see there are two numbers, and we really only talked in the first video about the top number. I just want to point out what the bottom number actually means, because that's going to have relevance to this video. The bottom number, I made reference to what the Americans call the notes in America, in the US. And a semi-breve 4-beat note is a whole note, a minim 2-beat note is a half note, a crotchet, a 1-beat note, is a quarter note, and a quaver is an 1/8 note. That's a half-beat note. Now that's actually quite useful, because using the UK naming system, it's not as obvious. But if we look back at a 4/4 time signature, it looks like a mathematical fracture. Sorry, not fracture, fraction. And it looks like 4 quarters. The American system. A quarter note is a crotchet. And that's actually exactly what it means. 4 quarter notes per bar. 4 crotchets per bar. So that means when you're counting in 4/4 or 3/4 or 2/4, or those sort of standard time signatures, you're actually counting how many crotchets there are in each bar. So when we go 4/4, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're counting crotchet 1, crotchet 2, crotchet 3, crotchet 4. Okay, why is this important? Well, in this video, one of the key things I want to look at is a compound time signature. And Paul's going to put up here a time signature which is called 6/8. And as it suggests, we're counting 6/8 notes per bar. 6/8 is not exactly common, but it is used quite a lot, and there's quite a lot of different music which uses compound time signatures. Other compound time signatures are 12/8 and 9/8, and all sorts of different 8s. There's 3/8, there's all sorts of weird things. But the common ones are 6/8, 12/8, very rarely now and again a 9/8. But what we're doing is we're counting the amount of quavers that are in a bar. Now what that actually does is that means the counts actually speed up, but not necessarily the tempo of the piece. So we're counting 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what 6/8 means. It's called compound because we can count this 2 different ways. And we can count 6, but there's also 2 strong beats mixed in there with those 6. And I'll emphasize the strong beats with my clap. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the first beat and the fourth beat also has a strong feeling to it. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like that. Now, why is this important? Well, it's very important when we run into a piece of 6/8 music. And Paul's now going to put a sheet up actually on the screen, which is the sort of Elvis Presley classic, Can't Help Falling in Love with You. Now, if we can see that there, the first thing I want to point out is that while it's written in 6/8, if you count the normal beats that you would count in 3/4, you will see there is actually only 3 beats written per bar. That is correct. But of course, if you're counting in 3/4, you're counting the crotchets, which means you go 1, 2, 3. But we're not doing that. We're counting the quavers, the half beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the most important point about a compound 6/8 rhythm is actually the feel of the music. Now, I'm going to show you that firstly by just putting on the metronome in the 6/8 time. So we did this in the first video in 4/4 time, but here's... Now, I want to point a couple of things out on our screen here on the keyboard. You see the meter now says 6/8. We're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, we've only got 4 lights here, so it looks like we're counting in 3. But each of those blocks represents 2 beats now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you notice the red light only flashes every two bars, or 2 bars if it was in 3/4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the red light only flashes on 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I'm going to leave that just ticking away now, and I'm just going to play the melody of this piece of music, Can't Help Falling in Love with You, which Paul's going to put back up on the screen here. And after a little counting, I'm just going to play just the tune. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now, that will sound very familiar to you. And it may be in that preamble that I've just led up to, it sounded very complicated and very involved. It's not so much complicated. It is just the feel of the music. And obviously when I play the melody, hopefully it sounds familiar and it sounds no different from how it always sounds. And that's fine. So you will have heard lots and lots of 6/8 music in your listening, in your, perhaps even in your playing. You've done different 6/8, but you're not sure what the 6 and the 8 actually mean. Let's look at a style now. So I'm just going to put a style on. This is just the drum part. No, that's all of the part, including the style. Sorry. So this is just variation 1, the simple variation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you feel those strong with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And as you get more complicated up the style variations, things get more difficult, but they just become a little cloudier because we've got so many different instruments kicking off now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, So the music looks like, if we ignore the time, didn't see the 6/8 time signature at the beginning of the music, you might think it's in 3/4 time, because if you count in normal beats, you've got 3 beats per bar. But because it's 6/8, you're counting the quarter notes. So we've got 8th notes, not quarter notes, 6th, 8th notes per bar. Okay, I hope that's clear. Now then, to be honest, 12/8 is very similar. It's a very similar time signature. It literally means you count to 12 So you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, to be honest, because that gets a little more complicated, you can break that down. You can count to 6 twice in every bar. You can even count just 3 and go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 12 times per bar, if that's what you wanted to do. But 6/8 and 12/8, well, they're very close relatives, to be honest. Sometimes the melody is written a little more complicated in a 12/8 pattern. But remember, the key thing to remember is you're only counting the quavers for each of the notes that are in there. So if you see a quaver, an 8th note, that's actually worth 1 of our quick counts. Yeah, that's a very important point. Now, there are lots of other different time signatures that we can explore, and to be honest, we don't really have time to do very much of that actually in this video here, but I'd like to just point out that we have some books available, of course we do, in Keyboard World, which talks about the different timing things that we've spoken about here. It goes into a lot more detail. There's 3 books altogether. It goes into things like triplets. What are different triplets and how do you count those properly? It goes into tied notes and dotted notes and all of those sort of details. Plus, it talks about the theory and how to cope with things like pauses and rubato. Now, rubato means it's officially when you play out of time. Now, playing out of time when you have an accompaniment style playing is not an easy thing to do. In fact, most of the time, if there's a rubato section in a piece of music and you're playing with a style, just ignore it. Play it in time with the style. But of course there are styles these days known as perhaps ethereal styles where things are out of tempo and you can play. So if you have lots of pauses, lots of out of time and perhaps an out of time feeling that you want to create, choose one of those ethereal type styles because the beat isn't strong. It doesn't feel like you're playing rhythmically, even though it does in a way keep a rhythm. But it doesn't matter if you play out of time with that rhythm because it will work. It will actually work fine. So I hope that's of interest. 6/8, remember we're counting 6 quavers, 6 8th notes per bar. Same with 12/8, same with 9/8 and all sorts of other weird things. So I hope that was useful. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you again in the next edition.